All right, so what is bat rolling?
So bat rolling is going to be a process that basically will break in composite bats much faster than batting practice or trying to, go through other methods. Some people would use a rubber mallet, some people would use vices, some people would swing it against an oak tree, you name it. I mean, they would try all kinds of things to break in composite bats because typically they'll take a good 500 or more swings, some of them a couple thousand swings to really get broken in and be good.
So that was my next question. What kind of bats can be rolled? Is it only composite or certain metals or alloys?
Yeah, I mean, I recommend, like we talked about, only composite barrel bats. Some of the bats will have different materials in them. It'll be a composite handle and a metal barrel, or vice versa, metal handle, composite barrel. As long as it's a composite barrel, regardless what the handle is, that's fine. And then for alloy barrels, I don't really recommend it unless it's a multi-wall bat, and then you can get some benefit, but metal just doesn't rebound the way composite does, and so I don't recommend metal bats to most people. I'm very upfront about that.
And then what about some of the guys were telling me there's rings inside the bats or something like that?
Yeah. TPS, specifically the Z1000, Z2000s will have the rings inside, and it's a ceramic disc. Think of it like a DVD, basically a small one. The size of the barrel sits vertically inside the barrel and keeps the walls of the bat from flexing too much. That's the design behind it. Some of the other bats, actually, DeMarini puts in, think of like a swim noodle, like a big piece of foam. They put that in the barrel for the same reason. They've been doing it for years.
Okay. So would you still be able to roll a bat that has that?
Absolutely. Again, those discs and that foam are designed to limit it, but the composite itself is still going to be needing to be broken in, and so that's what rolling will do for you.
Gotcha. What leagues is bat rolling legal, if any, or if you know?
Some of the slow pitch leagues, it's fine, like U-Trip, it's fine. That's USSSA. ISA, I think it's okay. Certain leagues, ASA, softball for sure doesn't allow it. Little League does not promote it. I'm not sure about Babe Ruth or Cal Ripken leagues or any of that stuff, but as far as the bats itself, any composite bat, I get slow pitch, fast pitch, Little League bats, adult bats, any composites are good.
Okay. And how many high school and like college age guys would you say come in to get their bat rollers, and mostly softball guys?
Not as much of the high schoolers anymore. Once they dropped the standard to the BB core, that changed a lot of it. The drop 3 bats for the BESR, I used to get them all the time. The BB core, they're trying to put me out of business.
I hear you. Now, is there any nicknames for a rolled bat? Like, do you call it like juiced or hot or something?
Yeah, I mean, some people will say it's just very well broken in. Most of the times when they're talking about juiced, they're talking about shaved bat.
Okay.
Most people that come over are just dads of little kids. I get a lot of fast pitch and a lot of youth bats for Little League, and they will sometimes tell their kids, they sometimes won't. But in any case, they're not going to blab about it out of the field. Right. So they don't call it anything. They just call it a normal bat. That's all they'll say.
So you mentioned bat shaving. What's the difference between rolling and shaving?
Sure. The bat rolling is, the machine is a vise with rollers on it, and it's going to compress the walls of the bat to break down the resin that holds these walls of composite together. The idea being to make the walls more flexible, to give a trampoline effect to the ball. Shaving, the idea is the same, right? To get flexibility out of the bat, but you go about it a different way by shaving the inner walls of the bat, where you're removing layers of composite out of the barrel, making the walls thinner, and they're more flexible for that reason. So this process is pretty straightforward here. It's just a lot of back and forth, covering the entire sweet spot of the barrel. Right? You don't want to get too close to the end cap, because the cap comes into the barrel about 1.5 to 2 inches, depending on the weight and the length. You don't want to get too close to the taper, because once you get off of the sweet spot of the barrel, you get to a weaker part there once that taper starts to form.
And
So
how
this
long would
is-
you typically do this for, this part of it?
I'll generally, by the time I'm all finished, any bat I'm doing will take about 300 passes through the machine. But I'm going to gradually increase the pressure on each side of the bat. And then once I get to the maximum level for each side, then I'll back off and rotate it and repeat. So at each amount of pressure, I'll usually do anywhere from 7 to 12 passes. And then I'll also listen to the bat, because a lot of times they'll start to make pops. And a lot of it you go by feel, based on how well the bat's compressing. And I can tell that through the top of the machine here. Again, I'm not in any hurry here. I'm just making sure we cover the whole sweet spot, staying off of the end cap and the taper. And then once that side's done, then I'll back it off, rotate the bat, and then start over.
And you do it by quarters, so you'll
Yeah.
have 4 turns on it?
Yeah, so I'll start with just a quarter turn on it, and then it'll be an eighth of a turn twice after that. So it hits every spot around the barrel. There's 8 different lines around it that rolling will cover. Right, so once we've reached the maximum pressure, and I'm not going through the whole process on this one, but once we reach the maximum pressure for it, we'll back off again, rotate again, and repeat. Alright. So this is where you'll do an eighth of a turn. Increase pressure. Back it off, and then another quarter of a turn after that actually, and that's going to help us cover every spot of the barrel from top to bottom. Okay. And then once that's all done, again, I haven't gone through all the pressure I would normally do for these. Once that's all done, we'll finish it off using the parallel method here. And the reason we do that is as I'm doing the perpendicular method, you notice it's just hitting specific lines around the bat. It's not touching every single spot on the sweet spot, and that's what the parallel method's going to do. So put it in here, and you can see pretty easily how that's covering the entire sweet spot of the barrel. And again, I'm not in any kind of race here. Some people, when they're rolling bats, their whole thing is to try and just do it as fast as they can and get you out of there. I know people aren't paying good money to just get in and out. They want to have the best effect they can, and to do that you need to take your time. In this method you can do both, same as before, in and out as far as the rotation. And as the pressure increases here, you can start to hear the bat with like a little Rice Krispie sound where the fibers start to crackle and some of that resin starts to break down. Alright. So I'll show you again this little demonstration bat, and you'll see that from the side. So this bat, you can see, this is a slow pitch bat that's been cut off. You can see the sheets of fiber and how the bat's constructed. It's just layer after layer that's held together with resin. And what this is going to do, as I mentioned, is compress the bat and break down that glue that's holding these layers together to let the walls be more flexible. So we'll put it in through the side. There's actually 3 rollers here. A lot of people only see 2 of them, but there's actually 2 on top and then 1 on the bottom. The 2 on top will hold it in place. And then you can see the bat's perfectly round. This is where composite really outshines the alloy barrels. So you start to tighten the vise and you'll see the bat change shape. You know, there's just 1/4 of a turn right now, 1/2 of a turn, and there's 3/4 of a turn, which is about the benchmark for most bats. Every bat will be a little bit different, but you can really see the way the barrel changes shape there. It goes down to egg shape, and you can also see the way that the sheets of fiber respond to the pressure, right, how it's moving. You can even hear that bat crackling a little bit right now.
Yeah, I can hear that.
So then when you let off, this is where I was talking about the composite really outshines the alloy, is how flexible it is. So when I let off, watch the way this bat comes back to life, how it comes right back to shape. There's a lot of pressure on the bat, comes right back to perfectly round, and no umpire, no player, no anybody will ever know the difference. You can't tell just by looking at a bat that's been rolled that it's been rolled, but you can certainly tell the difference when you swing it.
Very nice.
If you found this video helpful, please subscribe and then join the free newsletter at yougoprobaseball.com.